Where is home? Most of us are born with the answer. Others have to sift through the pieces.
I took a walk through this beautiful world. Felt the cool rain on my shoulder. Found something good in this beautiful world. I felt the rain getting colder.
አዲስ አበባ አየሩ ደመናማ ነው። ነገር ግን በዚህ ሙዚቃ የበለጠ ልናበራው ነው። በማዳመጥ ላላችሁት ፕሮግራም ነው። እየሰማችሁን ስለሆነ ከልብ እናመሰግናለን።
Admit it. You hear the name Ethiopia and you think starving children with distended bellies. You think dust and famine and despair so awful, you frankly don't want to even think about it anymore. But take a look. Addis Adaba, capital city of Ethiopia. A cool, high-altitude urban center that will both confirm and confound expectations. Fueled largely by direct foreign investment and a returning Ethiopian diaspora eager to be part of the new growth, things are changing in Addis. It's one of the fastest growing economies in the world. It's not the first time the place has gone through a growth spurt. In the 1950s, Emperor Haile Selassie, known as the King of Kings, embarked on a similar program of massive public works. This was supposed to be the legacy of Ethiopia, the future. But the next time Ethiopia found itself in the headlines, it was for this. And for many of us, that was the end of the story. So I'm looking forward to this week.
I can't wait to show you Ethiopia.
I've been waiting for you. I mean, I'll tell you right now.
We couldn't have picked a better time because we have old Ethiopia right here, and we also have new Ethiopia right here. And that's like, that combo is going to be so cool.
Marcus Samuelsson. Maybe you know him from such shows as A Lot of Them, or his many restaurants, his best-selling memoir, his status as America's most recognizable black chef. But Marcus isn't African-American. He's Swedish-American or Ethiopian Swedish-American, or look, it's complicated. What is true to say is that Marcus Samuelsson, like his wife Maya, was born here in Ethiopia. So, when was the last time you were in Ethiopia?
4 years ago. And you can tell it's changed a lot.
I'm interested in seeing an African country that was never colonized. It was never taken by Europe.
No, that sense of pride, and you really hit the nail on the head. I mean, that sense of pride is also the sense of that everyone wants to come back.
How does it feel coming back? Is it weird at all? You feel like you're coming home?
It is weird, but end of the day, I always love it. I miss it. One foot of me is like just Ethiopian, but then the other foot is just so Swedish or American at this point, right?
You do not speak the language here, Amharic or any of the dialects.
No.
You've since come back and you've reconnected with family.
Yeah.
But it must be weird. I mean,
it is.
You need a translator.
No, but I need a translator. My wife is not my translator in life and in culture and so many things. But I think when you're a black man, when you're an immigrant, when you're Ethiopian, when you're Sweden, I've been put in so many situations that I put myself into. So I'm actually very comfortable in being uncomfortable.
In the 1970s, Ethiopia was hit with a tuberculosis epidemic. Marcus, his older sister Fante, and his mom were all stricken with the disease. With no possibility of medical attention in their village, facing the almost inevitable death of both her children, Marcus's mom set out on foot with her daughter at her side and 2-year-old Marcus on her back, walking 75 miles to the Swedish hospital in Addis. Against all odds, they made it. Marcus and Fantai recovered. Their mother did not. Marcus and his sister were adopted by Anne-Marie and Leonard Samuelson and raised from that point on in Sweden. Ethiopia, its language, its food, its cultures was largely a mystery. Marcus traveled and trained, apprenticing in some of the great kitchens of Europe. He moved to New York and at the remarkably young age of 23 received 3 stars from the New York Times at his groundbreaking restaurant, Aquavit. It's been a pretty stellar rise since then. And in 2010, he opened Red Rooster in Harlem.
I always find it so paradox that I was born into very little food, but yet sort of I've made my whole life about food. My sort of structure and pragmatism comes from being raised in Sweden. And my sort of vibrancy and warmth to cooking and field-based food that I love comes definitely from here.
Weirdly enough, the single aspect of Ethiopian culture most Westerners do know a little about is Ethiopian food. So maybe you've had this.
Oh, wow. Now that looks good. That is exciting. What is it?
This typical Ethiopian vegetarian. They make it really nice.
At Katenga restaurant, they do it classic. Injera bread. That's Ethiopian 101.
I mean, when you think about Ethiopian food, right, the foundation is really the injera bread.
It's not just food, it's an implement.
Yeah.
We're having beyaynetu, a selection of stews, or wats as they're called around here. That's gomen, sautéed greens, shiro wat, which is a chickpea stew, and tiko gomen, sautéed white cabbage. Many, if not most of the dishes, spiced with the magical, mysterious flavoring of the gods, berbere.
Can I give you one? That's normally they do it. They say gursha.
You have to.
This stuffing of food into your fellow diner's face is called gursha, and it's what you do to show your affection and respect. Try this at the Waffle House sometime and prepare for awkwardness.
Now, when you were born here?
I was born here.
Left what age?
13. I grew up in Holland, and after that we all went to London, Germany, and I'm in New York now. So
I don't want to say it's a rootless existence, but it's a, where's home?
I think for us now, Harlem is really home. But when I've been gone for 2 years, I'm like, I gotta go back because the beat is just so different than what Sweden can offer me and definitely what New York can offer me.
The median age in Ethiopia is under 18. That means most people here don't remember Live Aid or any of that. Coupled with a recent economic boom, this might be the first generation in decades to enjoy a future with real hope. Things are indeed happening. In this case, at a vacant bus stop.
They're Dogtown, man. They're the next generation of Dogtown in Africa, man.
A few years back, a couple of Ethiopians who'd been living abroad returned to Addis with some skateboards. Today, there are a couple hundred skaters in Ethiopia and more on the sidelines waiting for their chance, waiting for a board, waiting for a pair of sneakers.
It's funny though, because skater boy culture came from white Southern California, suburban. You can pretty much track all of skater culture back to one parking lot.
Yeah.
So what's coming out of this parking lot?
There are no skateboard shops in Ethiopia. None. They have to come, all of them, from abroad.
Woo! Nice.
Little kid's good.
Little kid is amazing.
For those lucky enough to have them, progression seems to be fast.
This gives me hope, honestly, that this can be a really cool town. Not just a great town with big buildings, but a cool town, too.
For skater boys and television hosts alike, the thing to do in late-night Addis is something called turbo and tibs.
I feel like a college party or something like that. It's perfect.
Turbo is a mutant concoction consisting of gin, beer, wine, and Sprite.
What's the first rule of drinking? Don't mix.
Ebenezer Temeskin, Adizu Halimichael, and Buzeo Julien founded Ethiopia Skate, the grassroots skating community that grew up in the parking lots around Addis. Sean Stromso is a founding member who's been documenting the group.
All right, man. My first turbo. Cheers.
It's like apple juice.
You're right.
Sweet.
It is like apple juice.
Shekla tibs are chunks of beef or lamb fried in oil and served in a charcoal-heated clay pot called a shekla.
Nice. I like the fat rind. I love that. They don't hide the fat.
Every Tibbs house has their own version, but here at Messe Grocery, it's served with a spicy dipping sauce called mitmita, and of course, injera bread.
Yeah, that's good. That works. Oh, that's mustard.
You want
There you go. How did this skating community form? I mean, do people watch what other people are doing around the world?
Definitely. Some of them they go to the internet cafe and they just see videos. That's how I started.
Back in the days, no internet for me.
Oh, wow.
I had to do it like the hard way, man.
I would tell you right now, if I were Ethiopian, or if I even lived here, I would open a skate shop tomorrow. So what's the best thing about Ethiopia right now?
I think back in the days, people want to get out from this country, just leave. But now they're like, they just want to work, and their mind has changed. And everybody's working together and working for the better. We're doing this for the next generation, because the next generation is going to take this.
Did we drink all that turbo?
I know.
We're terrible people, man.
Yeah.
We're going to hell. So, time to catch a buzz?
You guys need to be my bodyguard.
No problem. Oh, this place is awesome.
This is a charming Ethiopian institution called a tejbet. They serve one thing and only one thing, tej, an alcoholic beverage made from fermented barley and honey.
It's not highly alcoholic, though, right? You got to pretty much hammer back a lot of this stuff to get a buzz. So basically, the people around here who got a load on, they've been working on this for a long time.
All day. This is a working class. This is where the workers go.
It's a cheap buzz.
It's a cheap bus. Cheers. You just knock it back.
All right.
It's good, man. You feel the funk?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it's working, man.
I've never seen a woman in a bar like this.
It's forbidden.
This is sort of a guy thing.
It's my first time, guys after work or the farmers.
We're breaking major rules here.
And you have all like the saints picture there and you're drinking.
Yeah, there's a lot of Jesus in the bars.
It's the last thing I want to see in a bar, the disapproving gaze of a saint.
In 1992, Addis emerged from the stifling 17-year grip of a hardline, old-school Maoist regime called the Derg. Since then, the town has been enjoying something of a musical renaissance. But the story of Ethiopian music, all the way back to the beginning, has been about finding ways to skirt authority, to mock it even, to say what you want to say one way or the other. Asmari are Ethiopia's original freestyle rappers. They've been around for centuries, voicing criticism, dissatisfaction, dissent, even when others could not.
So, how old?
How old is Asmari Bey? I would say, what, 2,000 years?
Yeah, it's like the first music that we have, right?
The trick is, they've always used a system of lyrical double meanings referred to as wax, meaning the apparent meaning, and gold, which is the underlying or real meaning. Poking fun at the audience is fundamental to the form.
Maya, you gotta help him out. This is where you go. Maya, go. You gotta see the disadvantages about being adopted soon. When she can move and act like, oh, that's when the sweet shows up.
The Asmari influenced Ethiopian popular music too. The use of lyrical double meanings carried through into Selassie's time. They called it Swinging Addis, a golden time between 1955 and 1974, before those fun-hating commies came and ruined everything. Post-World War II, Ethiopia was in the delirious thrall of American big band and swing groups like Glenn Miller, and against the backdrop of a traditional and official obsession with military marching bands, you had the means and the will and the environment to make musical magic. And this man, Mahmoud Ahmed, has always been at the forefront. When you looked to the West, were there American musicians who spoke to you?
የዛን ጊዜ እኔ የኤልቪስ ፕሬስሊን እንትን የተከተልኩት የሳም ኩክ ነበረ፣ ጄምስ ብራውን እና ደግሞ ናት ኪንግ ኮል አለ። የዛን ጊዜ እኔ የኤልቪስ ፕሬስሊን እንትን የተከተልኩት ጄል ሃውስ ሮክ የሚለውን ዘፈኑን ሲጫወት የዛን ጊዜ ነው። የእግሩን ሼክ እንትን ያደርግ ነበር እና ያንን ነው እኔ የወሰድኩት ከሱ እና እኔ ፈጣን ሙዚቃ ሲጫወት የኔ እግር እንደዛ እንደ ኤልቪስ ሼክ አለ እንትን
Combining elements of jazz, swing, R&B, and distinctive Ethiopian scales and time signatures, and an always killer horn section, well, listen for yourself. Shola Market in Addis Ababa. It's where you come for what you need.
What are we here to buy, by the way? What's the plan?
I want to make dorowat. Really the king of chicken dishes in Ethiopia. All right, so we're going to go head down here, get some good butter. You smell the fermentation, the funk?
Kibe, an Ethiopian butter in various stages of fermentation depending on what you like. It is a primary ingredient in much of the cooking.
So there's between one is really fermented and another one is a medium. So she says we should use the medium one for the chicken stew. And you use all the spices. But this is the most important thing.
People from Gurage, Maya's tribal area, run the market, so she knows the language and how to negotiate.
I can smell a frightened chicken a mile off. Here we go. Guess how many do we need?
I just think we need 3, it's fine.
My mama done told me, get something for dinner. In this case, chicken. Fresh, please.
See ya, wouldn't want to be ya.
Oh, that's fresh.
I love all the sounds. Like it's like chicken there, music there.
How did he get the skin off?
He just, one move he did it.
We used to use like a hot boiled water.
Yeah.
After killing it, you
dip them in.
there. That's how I grew up.
Morocco has Ras Al Hanout, India, garam masala. Ethiopia has this, the brightly colored berbere. The color is amazing, and those guys who grind this stuff are covered with it, breathe it all day long.
Sort of magic, man.
Marcus left Ethiopia at age 2, so finding and reconnecting with his family has not been easy. Tracking down a mom who died in similar circumstances on the right dates, following a thread to a dusty village in the Oromo region, where Marcus found the man he has come to accept as his biological father. He also found Tigist, Salem, Zebani, Ashu, and Daniel, presumably his siblings by another mother. Together, Marcus and his sisters make dorowat, a classic chicken stew.
You talk about all feel, and I need it to go back to New York and be the chef that I have to be. I really need this. Welcome to Segai family meal. Segai family meal. So we start with injera bread, right? Yeah.
Besides the dorowat, we have cabbage, beets, and collards, root vegetables finished with the livers and giblets of the chicken.
Actually, it looks spicier than it is.
Good. Very good.
Though a continuing bone of contention with his father, Marcus and Maya have sponsored the girls, moving them all to the city and getting them into school. In the countryside, these girls faced the likelihood of forced marriage, even abduction, and very little chance of the kind of future they might have now.
So how'd that go over with the family when you said, I'm going to try to help you?
I mean, my dad was like, absolutely not. We need them on the farm.
Right.
It couldn't have been done without Maya, that really not only translates, but also understands the culture. Because I felt also bad coming in as the quote-unquote American saying, okay, everyone should move to the city. It had to be gradually 2 by 2 by 2.
Right.
So when I had to pick which 2, I picked the girls because otherwise I should have been out of school by 2nd grade if she would have followed the tradition of the country.
Second grade. That's it. What after that?
You work at home. It's been very enriching and loving, for us. And we have a purpose. We know what our goal is. Our goal is to get them through school. You're looking at a chemist in a couple of months. Whatever new Ethiopia you see, they're it. Farmers coming in and going to school and now have options.
Addis is one thing, a city experiencing a renaissance of sorts, an economic boom. Outside of the city, the farther away one gets, one is reminded that in fact Ethiopia remains one of the poorest countries in the world. Marcus and Maya come from two completely different tribes, two completely different regions of Ethiopia with distinct languages and cultures all their own. Maya comes from the Guragi region, a more fertile, green agricultural area than Marcus's. It's about 3 hours out from the city, and it's beautiful. Maya, it should be noted, left home at a much later age. There's no question of identity. She's African, she's Guragi, and she retains close ties to her family and to her village.
Welcome to Guragi.
Thank you. She was here just last year. It's been 4 years since they've seen Marcus. Maya's mother, Bazunesh, and de facto grandmother, Owl, welcome us.
So it's like, go ahead.
When visitors come, everything starts with coffee.
Good.
Traditionally, it's served here with a bit of salt, not sugar. Maya's story differs from Marcus's in a lot of ways. It was not disease or famine or poverty that drove her and her brother Petros to Europe and a new life. It was the brutal reality of politics.
So, who was your father?
My dad was my hero and everyone's hero. Everyone, but my brother could explain a little bit more.
He was a local chief and also a member of the Supreme or the highest court, you can say. During the Haile Selassie period, he was engaged in more innovative and experimental mechanized farm during the communist period. Something unexpected happened.
In 1974, Emperor Haile Selassie was deposed, and the very unpleasant General Mengistu and a hardline communist regime called the Derg took over the country. As in Mao's China, all agricultural property was taken over by the state and broken up into small parcels.
Everything what my father had, the land, the property, is confiscated. And those who had authority, they had the chance to work together, to cooperate, or they were enemies.
Right. Anyone deemed an enemy of the state, and this could be a very dangerously loose definition, but usually and typically included the educated, the well-off, and anyone associated with the former government, were hunted down, shunned, jailed, harassed, and often straight out killed. Maya's dad was all those things, an educated landowner and part of the rural tribal administration from the Selassie time. Most people who had the means left the country.
I know this guy who is appointed, as a governor of the region, killed 60 people in the region here in 3 years' time.
You know, nobody knows when he's coming.
Right.
So he just knock our door, and my mom, she gets every time he comes, he give her bullets. So he tells her, this bullet next time is yours if you don't bring your husband. So my dad always came to visit us in nighttime, so he never been really home around during the daytime.
So for most of that time, your father had to live in hiding.
Yeah.
And we all survived by the grace of God. We are blessed for this.
Morning in Maya's village. Marcus is a runner. Every day, wherever he is, he runs a few miles. Me? Not so much. But what with my cardio shockingly improved of late, I figured I'd give it a try. Maya and Marcus's return, not to mention the invasion of a big foreign television crew, is reason or maybe excuse for a big party, and preparations have already begun. Maya slips seamlessly from her other life as a high-fashion model back into her more traditional role in village life, working along with an army of other women to prepare what looks like a massive feast.
How do the ladies feel about you cooking, man?
This is, you see,
It's causing serious problems.
No, you already crossed it because you're the first foreigner ever in that kitchen.
A lamb, of course, must be slaughtered. Actually, in this case, 2 lambs, because here, as in much of Ethiopia, Muslims and Christians live side by side. One lamb gets the halal treatment, one for the Christians. It's a peculiar history of peaceful coexistence here, of which Ethiopians are quite proud. The Christians came here during the time of the apostles, from the very beginnings of Christianity as a religion. And the belief is that Muhammad, after being persecuted and driven from Mecca by the Quraysh, fled to Ethiopia, where he found refuge.
Dog is happy.
Oh, yeah.
Nice and bloody in his face.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
The production continues. Women in the kitchen, except for Marcus, who looks most comfortable there, though his presence is a befuddlement to the others. Men taking care of the meat. Oh, bro food traditions, you're everywhere.
You know, none of the people that cook today, right, consider themselves cooks. But all of them, like...
Well, like in rural communities, when you kill a couple of animals, right, everybody in the village has sort of a chosen specialty. Like Joe Bob over there, he does the cracker. Somebody else over there does the Bourdain. Somebody else over there is like good at just scraping the fur off. Somebody else, but everybody's got a function. You know, it goes right back to the first fire. I mean, I'll bring the dip. You know.
Normally you hold it like this, and then you put everything you want in here.
Got it.
So you guys could take some, and then we're gonna take it around.
Perfect.
Goman and Ayib are greens, like collards, with a big hit of berbere and Ayib cheese.
I like the cheese. It's like a ricotta.
Lamb kitfu, prepared gurage style, laboriously diced, amazing.
This is all like inner.
Yeah, I got some of that. That's good. That's delicious.
Yeah.
This I love without reservation.
Barbecue, now we're talking. Man, what a meal. Pretty impressive.
Then whiskey and music, and the party really starts going.
Thank you for coming to Ethiopia.
In 2004, at the prompting of his sister, Marcus began an exhaustive search for his lost family. Who was he, after all? Where exactly did he come from? Who in his family had survived, was left? Where were they? He was told that his father was still alive, living here in the village of Abrugundana, southeast of Addis. For adoptees looking to return, to reconnect, the journey is complicated. For Marcus, each trip has always raised more questions than it's answered. This trip is no different.
Every time, that last 5-minute drive, right? It just makes me nervous, makes me really, really excited and nervous at the same time, right? But it's just, take the American hat off and take the Swedish hat off, it's just a different grid.
It's in 110th Street.
It is not. I come from a dusty place.
You're not kidding.
Oh, they changed it.
They changed it. They make it big.
Yes.
I leave Marcus alone with his father. This is between them.
Marco,
Yes.
Abragona.
Abragudana, I like it. I like Abragudana.
He wanted to see your foot. He wanted to see how you guys look alike.
I wasn't ready for this.
እግዚአብሔር ይስጥልኝ ጥሩ ነው ያደረጉት። They look alike.
Yeah. Proof. Proof.
It's a good idea, actually. But
Oh,
he has a better foot
He
than
does.
you do.
He does. And I wasn't ready for this.
So, how does it feel to be back? You seem, I gotta tell you, I gotta be honest, seem conflicted.
Yeah. There's 1,000 thoughts going through my head. I always feel a little guilty that I got out.
If you'd stayed, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
I would have been a farmer or dealt with some type of cattle.
I'm pretty sure you would have been a shit farmer, Marcus.
I would have.
I can't see it, okay? You'd be the best dressed goddamn farmer, that's for sure. Where's home for you, man? Where do you think, I know, looking back on it all?
Yeah, that's an internal question for me, you know. I feel at home in New York. I feel very much at home when I'm in Africa, but I also feel out of place. And coming to this very place, Abragudana, it gives me a lot of humility, but I can't say it's home. I can't say it's home.
Happiest moment in Africa?
Happiest moment is, I think, when we had Maya's village for me. The whole village comes together. Music, food, culture brings everybody together. That eating together, being together, it's by far the happiest for me.